Hey everyone, Coach Kirsten here, and I've been getting a lot of questions about how do I work my training around my busy lifestyle, and what can I do if I don't have access to some of the equipment when I'm traveling or at work or out and about. So I wanted to share the way that I design the majority of my clients' training plans and how I design my own, because my life is a little crazy and I tend to attract people whose life is also a little bit crazy. So instead of saying on Monday you do this, on Tuesday you do this, on Wednesday you do this, and here's your very specific workout, I say in a week, here's what you need to do. And if somebody wants something more specific, I definitely give them more specific, but I don't say you do this on Monday, you do this on Tuesday, because most people, or the people at least that I attract into my coaching business, are people whose lives are always changing. They have kids, they have jobs that are maybe traveling a lot, they have other hobbies, they have significant others who have different hobbies than maybe being an athlete, and they need to be a little more flexible. So, for example, this week for my training, my goal was to get in 18 hours. So honestly, if I can get in 18 hours of anything, that's like kind of bottom of the barrel, but I'll be happy with it because I'm training my body to go long distances. I already have a really good base in each of the sports, swimming, biking, and running. But I'm building my base right now. So if I can get in 18 hours of anything, I'm happy. My ideal would be when I'm doing my 18-hour week, which was this week, 4 hours of swimming, 10 hours of cycling, and 4 hours of running. Again, if I can get in any sort of swimming, like just being in the water, doing something easy, something hard, doing butterfly, doing fins, whatever, then I'm happy. 4 hours in the water. 10 hours on the bike. I teach some cycling classes. Like I just taught a class this morning. I didn't go hard, even though I was like pushing my class to go harder, but that's time in the saddle. That I counted for 1 hour of my 10 hours. So if I'm doing a recovery spin where I'm just spinning my legs 100 RPMs on level 2, that still counts. If I'm working really hard, trying to hit some higher power zones, that counts as well. So 10 hours on any sort of bike. So if I'm traveling and I'm at a hotel, I was actually talking to an athlete about this morning who is traveling and at a hotel with a crappy bike. Sitting in the saddle, moving your legs is going to give you some benefit. If you don't believe that there's a physical benefit, that's okay. There's definitely a mental benefit to sitting on a bike for an hour. That's a crappy bike with no foot straps and the seats moving back and forth every time, to just sticking with a program, getting into a routine and moving your legs, getting your blood flowing. And if you're an endurance athlete, a lot of endurance training is doing things when you don't really feel like it, because at some point, if you're doing in a race that's challenging you, you're going to not want to do something at some point. So if you're not a great swimmer and you're doing an Ironman and you're turning to do the second loop, you just did 1.2 miles and you hate swimming or you dislike swimming, you're gonna round that buoy and be like, oh my gosh, seriously, I have to do this all over again. So that's what I mean. That's part of it is mental. It's not always a physical training. Some of it is just getting it done and just doing when you don't feel like doing it. And then the 4 hours on the run. So swim 4, bike 10, run 4. My running is very flexible because my body, mentally, I don't love running. When I'm starting to run, I feel a little better. I like to race running, but training running is really hard for me, and I don't want to hate running. So a lot of my time, so for example, my 4 hours of running this week was an hour and 45-minute run with a 15-minute walk after. So that was my long run. It was an hour and 45 minutes of running, 15-minute walk, and that equaled 2 hours. Then I did a 15-minute on the step mill. I just had a small 15-minute window, and this is why I like to do overall time instead of you have to do 30 minutes here, because that day I didn't have 30 minutes to do a run. I had 15 minutes. So I jumped on the step mill for 15 minutes. I counted that as 15 minutes. Then the next day, my goal was 1 hour. And ideally, of course, ideally, I'm a triathlete, I should be running, but my body, I had lifted the day before, I did my long run 2 days before, I did a hard swim the day before, my body was tired. And instead of skipping it, I'm like, I just have to get in something to equal 4 hours of running throughout the week. So I got on the elliptical because that's less effort for me. It's less impact on my body. It's less energy. It's almost like a recovery run for me. And I got on the elliptical. I'm like, just do an hour. I had a little extra time, so I did an hour 15. So hour and 45 run, 15-minute walk, 15-minute on the step mill, an hour 15 on the elliptical is all time on my legs, and that equaled 3.5 hours. So yesterday, when I got on the treadmill, all I had to do was 30 minutes, and I was feeling a little better. I can handle 30-minute run on the treadmill. So I did a 30-minute run on the treadmill. So all of that together equaled 4 hours during the week on my legs in a motion that's similar to what I'm going to be doing in a triathlon. So maybe when I'm a little closer to my first race, I might be a little more motivated to run instead of elliptical, or when it gets nicer outside, I don't know if you can see, there's still snow on the ground, it's cold here. If I have 15 minutes and I don't have Cora with me, maybe jumping outside and running for 15 minutes instead of getting on the step mill. But I am really big on doing this for myself, and so I do it for my athletes, give them a little bit of flexibility, because in my opinion, the more flexible you are with your training plan, the more you're going to stick with it. Instead of saying, I'm not up for an hour run today, and then I skip it, and then I have to come up with an hour on some other day to run that I didn't plan for in advance, and so I don't have an hour time, and then I end up not doing that hour later in the week. So that's how I like to chunk out my time. I just do it by time, and that's what works for me. So you have to find what works for you, but I do have a lot of people ask about what makes the way I train different from the way other people coach their athletes. So that is something that I do. So if you have any questions about that, let me know, and I look forward to hearing from you. Have a fabulous day, happy training, and I will see you guys next time. All right, bye.